Evening, folks. Welcome along to the next edition of the LWB Club Football Pod in association with Recovery Hub and Carlow, Precision Media Productions, Milano's Takeaway, Bidingstown, Seamus Byrne Electrical. In terms of floodlights, that's your go-to. Carpenter's Bar, Lounge and Restaurant, Railway Limited, The Bob's Barbershop, Fine Framers, J&J Services, and Scott's Bouncing Castles. We didn't go with the Monday night 9 o'clock route. Availability and just in general timeliness, I suppose, we felt maybe we'd give it a blast of a Sunday evening at 6:30ish. There's no Sunday game we're at anymore, obviously, with the timeline of events of the inter-county season this year. So, blank canvas. Why not go for it? So we're going to go back through the senior football semi-finals, intermediate semi-finals, the junior A semi-finals, and I'd say getting near the tail end of this show, we'll know who's going to be in the junior B final as well. St. One's already through, but as we go live here, the other semi-finals taking place. So we'll see how that one pans out. Yeah, okay, we'll kick it off. So I'm going to bring in Stephen Barwick, Joe Nolan, and Brian O'Donoghue. Evening, gents. How are you?
Good, Jeff.
Brian, tender? Yeah.
Sick as a plane going to Lourdes. You're never going to say it during the championship, but like I was never as convinced this was our time to put back-to-back titles together for the first time since '91. And you can't say that during the championship they sound like cocky, and it wasn't the cockiness. It was just looking at where things were standard-wise, and just thought we had the I still think we had the ability to do it, and just for whatever reason, just couldn't get going. And even when we got the second goal yesterday, you thought maybe there was a sting left in the tail. But credit to Pal, better team on the night. The 3 scores after half time, particularly Shane O'Neill. Although his celebrating in front of the referee supporters after the game didn't go down too well with me. I am looking forward to seeing him. They were the better teams. Like, kicked some great scores, and we never looked like kicking those scores last night, and I don't know why. And then very unlucky to free at the end. It was an awkward one for a right footer, and other than that, I'm used to cliches and shoulda, woulda, coulda, you know.
Yeah. Gents, I know you were all there last night. I couldn't get there. I know from listening to Brendan Hennessy and Willie Quinlan on KCLR that a large, I suppose, section of people thought Gary's attempt actually went over. Now, I don't know whether that was just the angle where he took it from or what the crack was, but there was no disputing it afterwards. It was just wherever the line shared the supporters were viewing from, I suppose, was it?
Yeah, I think referee supporters, we all probably assumed he was going to get it, and we were cheering as soon as he kicked it. And chatting to some of the subs last night, and they were saying that they were watching Dempsey, and they could tell from his reaction that it hadn't gone over. Took the umpire a few seconds, stepped forward, and he waved it wide, and we were all just it's the hope that kills you, isn't it?
Yeah, yep. Joe, Steve, I'm going to bring you in on this, and we'll come to the rest of the action as well, but we've started with Raffaele and Pal now, so we might as well stay on it, I suppose. I think when you lose a player of Brian Murphy's caliber anyway, it's a monumental moment in any game, but then you're also losing an ace free taker from the right-hand side. Is it unfair to suggest that is a big factor in this one, lads, or what angle do you come at it from? Do we have to, obviously we have to give Pal an awful lot of credit. There was a rat-a-tat 3 in a row segment of points just after half time as well, I suppose, Joe.
Yeah, a couple of key bursts. I'd probably nearly go, I don't, it's not one of the highlights of the game, but probably when Pal were going to be reduced to 14 players for a black card, and Ed Finnegan got sent off. You had a 14-yard free and being up a player to being equal on players, and knowing in 10 minutes time Pal were coming back to full complement was probably a big swing as well. I do agree with what Brian said there. Like, Pal fought hard, Rathvilly fought very hard. I know you could, like Brian Murphy, he showed it in the first couple of balls. He was on form. He took his goal really, really well. Got a couple of dunts. In fairness, very brave going in with Craig Carney for one, and Craig came and took ball and all. And then he got swallowed up by another group of Pal defenders, and looked like he picked up just run of the game, knocked to the head, and had to be taken off for precaution. But he was a big loss to me. I thought he was a great file in there. He looked like, he was causing trouble in there. Any ball that did go in, and again, it gave Rathvilly an option to go a little bit long and more direct because he looked like he had the strength over Stephen Riley there on the edge of the square. So he was a big loss, but I suppose, there's kind of the three key moments for me were probably him going off. Pals obviously they got 3 points in, I think, the first minute and a half of the second half. Steve, you'd probably have it there to put them up, I think, 2 points up, and that sending off was a key moment. You're down to 14 players. I suppose, I think then that 10-minute spell, it's hard to know. I suppose it's different mindsets and you're not down there, but I thought Rathvilly sat back a little bit. Maybe had they pushed on another little bit, maybe, knowing that, right, well, look, Pal are going to be coming fresh. They're going to have Jack Brendan is coming back in after 10 minutes. We need to get something out of this 10-minute spell. I know we're on par in terms of players, in terms of 14v14, but maybe we need to push for 10 minutes and see where it gets us. And I think Pal kind of held them, they probably didn't get as much as they could have had out of that 10-minute spell. Now, I know they got the goal later on, but I just thought that 10-minute spell, they could have maybe tried to open up something a little bit more. But it was an intriguing game, even though it was low scoring enough. It was an intriguing game. There was a lot of good football played in it, and a fairly high quality pace too. So, but probably just about Pal deserved maybe on the night to edge it out.
The increase of pace in the second half seemed to be a big factor, Stevie, and the actual quality of scores that Pal kicked.
Yeah, like the 3 points after half time to Brian McMahon, Jamie Kenny, and Shane O'Neill. I don't know what order, because there was 2 in the first minute of the second half, and that's 3 players coming over half time then with their heads, they're a bit of a bounce in their step. The 8 scores from play, I think, over the hour. The probably Rathvilly had 10, I think, about 9 or 10 wides. Pal had only 3. There were. I took, again, like last week, the goal ignited Rathvilly last week. The second goal ignited him a bit last night after the sending off. Like Brandon Kelly again, like, Jesus Christ, phenomenal effort from a lad that, you'd be fearing for his safety. Even the tackle when he was brought down by Jack O'Brien for the red card incident, he actually bounced up with the ball in his hand. And I tell you, there's not too many lads I know, and I've seen Johnny Nevin, Willie Quinlan, lads like that are fair. They're small men and queer hardy lads. He actually held on to the ball in the tackle, and Brian Smith ended up being taken off. Brian Murphy was gone. These are things, and like with the free, like Gary Dempsey comes on, scores 4 points again, like 2 points from play, 2 from frees. Yeah. Like this man, we talked about last week. Like the free, okay, if Brian Murphy's on, Conor Rail missed one from a similar position earlier on. So, these are things, when we heard the roar from the stand, I thought the Rathvilly crowd at the back of the stand, it was over. Fine margin, semi-finals are, like, the first half was 1-1 to 3 points. Not great, no, I've been understepping, but like the second half just ignited with the 3 points the boys got to start the second half. But the pace where the transition, as you said, from back to front when Pal get going is scary if it's let loose, and they've done it a couple of times there and got scores. Conor Crowley only got 2 points, but I think he's going to have a serious hand in this county final next week. If he can be, I know that Tinryland's, we're talking Tinryland game later. If he's able to be alienated into a position where he might get one chance in the game to get a goal. He picked up a couple of balls off the ground there last night, low trajectory on him, got him up and was gone with him. Now, there might be any passes off to someone else that don't look like a lot, but this lad looks like he's ready to fire a big performance next week. Despite the scores, again, 8 scores to, I think, maybe, just looking at Brandon Kelly got a goal, Brian Smith got a mark, Brian Murphy got a goal in the first minute, Gary Dempsey nearly got the rest of them. That's you're looking at the scores in the second match there today. Was 10 points. It's going to be a long way of winning this championship. There's no goals in it with the way Tinryland are playing, and just the speed. If Pal can stay, as I say, not dragged into the Tinryland game. I know were just talking about the game last night. Like Brendan Murphy was very good. Only got one shot off, maybe it's in the whole game. He gave one pass there. In the start of the second half? Another Joe, you copped it. He was actually mid-air and he kicked off a ball. He got tackled at the same time. And he got it. I don't know who it was. And like, I know these are things you'll miss in the final next week. They're the one who put the semi-final. You have no. You win, you lose, you're gone, and your interest in it has probably gone too. If that was to be reality, but just looking at Conor Doyle, probably didn't get forward as much as I thought he did need to be for Rathvilly to have a bit more of a threat going forward. But then again, you're looking at the way Pal attack. You have to have that defence covered as well. So, and looking at the size wise of the Pal forwards as well, like Jamie Kenny, Josh Wigan, they're no bigger than Brandon Kelly, and it's great to see these players. I mean, being able to play in a system where they're allowed to play football, and they can mix it up with the other things. Like Jason Kent chipped in with a point. Wouldn't be renowned for getting the scores. He'll do a lot of work. And Jack Brennan was back. I keep saying Jacko because his father was Micko.
Yeah. It'll do. It'll do. We'll christen it here. Yeah.
So Conor Doherty came back on. So they're two subs there ready to win next week. Probably the last couple of weeks, Rathvilly probably started lads on form, Eric Malloy probably as well. So that Trev was gone off the bench, I suppose. I said it last week. It got orderly last week. Probably weakened the bench a little bit this week. Other than Gary Dempsey getting 4 points, of course. Alan Kelly came on, got a few minutes. Sending off, of course, a vital thing, and big swing. And
Craig Kearney save as well, I suppose, lads. We better give him credit for it.
Yeah, and did that him in the face. Brandon Kelly took a shot. I don't know.
Yeah. He stood up very big for it anyway. He did take a shot. And I think he might have even got another deflection and it came up onto Craig, but it went out for a 45, spun off.
It's a matter of strikes between his eyes and it says, it's a great save. It's an instinct save.
Yeah.
And it's and that goal down there, that goal, we've said it, we were doing the 4 games this weekend. We're into the 4. That goal just was the weirdest things going on. And it's seen the second game again there today. Just there was balls hitting posts. I've never seen a ball hitting the post as often as in the 4 games this weekend. And the only one that came back, I said it was a score got off. It was probably the goal that Fenna got. But just there was balls hitting off posts with a lot of balls dropped into goalie's hands. Semi-finals, they're high pressure situations. There was lads uncharacteristically dropping shots short today, yesterday, and semi-finals are for winning, no matter how inglorious they might be. And Pal are in the final now and a derby.
Yeah, Ryan, you want to come in?
Yeah, I remember when I started refereeing, Salt, Patrick Murphy started together, and we used to we got onto the Leinster panel, and we used to travel together to referee intercounty blitzes. You could have 4 teams invited down. And we're up in Dunlava one day, and we ref the games. And on the way home, we were just chatting about all things football. And I said to him, if you could give any player one particular ingredient, like with speed or skill, or what, if you could give them one thing, what would it be? And his answer that he came back with wasn't any of the options I gave him. He said the one thing he'd give them was hunger. And hunger it's an unbelievable sauce, and it's an unbelievable ingredient to have. And it looked to me last night that Pal were starving, and they really want, while our lads, I'm not saying for 1 second that they weren't absolutely they died in their boots, particularly Brendan. He was an absolute colossus. I don't know how many times Robbie just picked him out from kickouts, and he rose above 3 or 4 Pal lads to win balls. And died in their boots. But the hunger Pal showed was, sickening, to be honest. But that's what kind of got him over the line. And it was a particularly hard loss for Rathvilly because I won't name names, but you're probably looking, it could well have been the last time we'll see 4 or 5 of those lads playing senior football. So there's a feeling, to me anyway, that there might be a bit of a change of the guard on, or a bit of an era passing, and that makes it particularly hard to take.
Might be one more year in them. It's mad. You were talking about, the thing is speed always kills when it comes to game situations. But I'm going to contradict myself a little bit now, because during the time involved with Clash this year, we were picking a team one night, and one of the selectors turned around and said, "We may go with this lad. He'd run all day." And I was particularly wound up at the time. And I said, "Well, sure, fucking Forrest Gump could run all day as well, but he's not going to put the ball over the bar." And I'm not going to name any names whatsoever, but bringing it back to speed. I think it is a crucial ingredient. But hunger, yeah, I agree with you. Okay, we've gone through our semi-final, and sorry, for anyone that's listening, I have to make the facial expression. It was horrendous. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Do Tinryland care? Nope. 2-5 to 6 points, they won the game. We have some statistics. Now, Stevie, I know you've wrote down a couple of things as well. I didn't write down that in the first half, but I think it was possibly 7 minutes went before a real proper shot on goal came in. I think Dermot Walsh hit the post. I think the first wide was maybe in the 11th minute. And at half time, it was Munster Rangers 3 points, Tinryland, no score. And lads, it was grim. You could hear a pin drop in Netwatch Cullen Park for the entire first half. I took 2 paracetamol at half time because of a bit of a dose on me, right? But I swear to Jesus, if I had no dose, I still probably would have took the paracetamol. It was painful. At one stage, Marty Barry had a bit of a shout out for some lad to go and move the car. And it wasn't my car, but it was half fucking taking it going out to try and move it anyway. It was shocking. Plain and simple.
There's 2
Joe,
great one-liners, good man.
you were beside me, Joe. Am I a bit harsh, or have I got this bang on for a change?
No, it was terrible football. Terrible. Yeah, sure. You're just describing it. Like, I mean, I was thinking back in the car on the way in and our way home, and like there's a couple of key moments in that game too. Like, I don't like picking out players or whatever or mistakes, but probably, you know, a lot of the key scores for Tinryland were gifts. The key goal, the first goal was one that was a kick out gone astray, and that got them back in the game. And only for the introduction of Paul Broderick, like that's to me that's the key to the 2 key things. He kicked 1-3 or 1-4.
1-3, 1-2 from
1-3. You know, it was terrible to watch. I don't know. We were looking at it there. We were on about possession. I don't know. I don't know where to start, lads, because lads will go back and analyse it and say, oh, they pressed this and they pressed that, and they were given lateral balls here and they were doing this. It was horrendous to watch. And if that's, I don't know. I don't know. There was no in the first half. I think Munster Rangers maybe had 8 shots at goal, 5 or 6 wides and 3 points. I think that maybe 8 shots in goal in the first half. Tinryland had the 2, maybe 3. They had 2 frees wide.
3 wides.
Shots. You know,
it would have been 4 then if you include their watch hitting the post. Like,
yeah. So, you know, I mean, you can press all you want and have all the ball you want, but you know, ultimately, you need scores to win. And when they put on Paul Broderick and John Murphy made a difference as well, because he was going forward a lot in the second half. And to me, that was key. And then again, you can talk about pressure on the kickouts, but you know, Owen Fenlon, you know, in fairness to the chap, he didn't play. That was his senior debut, I think, this year in terms of championship debut. And Dean Grennan got injured, I think, in the warm up, and you know, his kickouts, just that one caught him, and I think he got caught then with another 1 or 2 as well, where Tinryland got scores off it. It wasn't anything that they necessarily did to press the kick out. It was just mistakes, and but it was very poor to watch. There was nearly shouts of ole, ole, you know, when the ball was being tossed across. I don't know. It's hard to know what to say, like, because the first half definitely was very poor. I think when Tinryland upped the tempo in the second half, grand, you know, they played some nice football, but if you know, I think if they come with that first half of football against Pal, I don't think it'll be good enough for them. And I think they'll know that themselves. I think they'll realise how poor it was.
We played a county final. We played a county final in 2004, 2003, and we drew the Blues 4 points each. And now I was playing, and I have no concept of like, obviously Paul Donny reported in the Nationals next week, and he, you know, said what he wanted about it. And like, it wasn't blanket defence, but that made possibly even worse. That we were only 4 points all. Sausage scored 2 of them from frees. You know, but it was, you know, that's.
It was also piss and rain, wasn't it?
What?
It was also piss and rain, I think.
Yeah, and you know, it was 8 scores in the game, and Sausage got 2 of the 4, half their scores from frees, and semi-finals, they're like it was today. And I knew the thing about it is you weren't surprised this was going to happen, but just on the scale that happened, you were a bit surprised. Or I don't know.
Can I ask you for that statistic, Stevie? Because between the first half last night and the first half today, in 60 minutes of football, you've the overall amount of scores that you had before we came on air. I don't know if you still have in the hand.
1-4. Well, sorry, 1-7.
In 60 minutes of football between 4 teams in the semi-final. Now, look, to put balance on it, we probably should include the second half as well, right? So, like, Rangers got, what did Rangers get in the second half today? 3 points. And Trailing got they got to the 2 points, right?
2-5.
Yeah. So, if you couple that up with last night, maybe there's a little bit of an improvement there. And just to be fair and balanced, it would be remiss of us to maybe talk about the negative and not balancing the positive. But I made a call before the senior game today, Joe and Stevie, you were there beside me, and Nave One scored 5-16. And I said, between the two teams today in the senior semi-final, there's not a hope we'll see 5-16 combined. And if you look at it, 2-5 and 6 points, 17 in total, right? And 5-16 is what, 31. So like barely even half, like you could say. It was bad. I don't want to be talking about this. I don't want to take that in the way. Tinryland are back in the final for the first time in 11 years, and fair play to them. It's not really an indictment on them. But it's just as a spectacle as a fan, you're disappointed with.
I think that's the big thing. You know, it's not. It's just that it was last night's game, while it was low scoring, was probably a different tempo than what we saw in that first game today. Do you know what I mean? I just thought it was very poor. You know, there's no imagination, no threat, no whatever. I think it's now, and again, not especially from Tinryland, but like they had a lot of ball and got nothing from it. I really do think, I mean, look, it bears out. Paul Broderick's introduction was a game changer. He saw up the second goal, took on his man, you know, laid it off for Paddy Regan for the second goal. He scored the first goal. He got a mark or two, free points from play. You know, I think without him, they didn't have the imagination up front. They didn't have that go-to person. And I think it did change their game plan when they brought him in. And I suppose, too, with John Murphy, I think John Murphy made a big impression, like I said, when he came in as well, carrying ball. But I think if they hadn't, they were in trouble, as I say. But they made the right changes at the right time, and it pays off. And they are in the final, and you have to give them credit for that.
Can I put something to you here, lads, right? When Carlow enjoyed a bit of success in 2017 and 2018, that was similar enough football that was played. And it's only now when we're seeing it within our own county with a club, I suppose, that we don't have any real connections to. Is this what it was like for everyone else coming to play us? I'm sure it was when Carlow were on it in 17 and 18. And similarly enough, like, do Ryland care out? No. Do you know what I mean? Like, is that a part in why we're seeing kind of what we're seeing as well?
I think, in fairness, though, in 17-18, I think Carlow were still top scorers in Division 4.
In 18, they were. So they refined the attacking element of it in the league. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And in the championship, they scored 431, I think, in the first 2 games. So they went on and pushed on with that a little bit. And maybe Tinryland will do that next year as well. Who knows?
Stephen O'Mara came in actually the year after Porter, didn't he, to Carlow?
Yeah.
And like they played Kildare in the Bourne Cup in Carlow, in Carlow IT, and cracker of a game, and they lost a couple of points. And was that the league campaign before COVID, or was it the year before COVID, or was it?
He came in 2020, the start of 2020 for the couple of league games.
So that would have been the COVID year, so we didn't get the benefit of what, you know, his, like we're looking at that, it looked like that day against the World Cup game. No, it's a one-off game. You can't call them that, but it looked to be a development from the Porter era, a bit more attack-minded. I thought on that day. No, I think...
Yeah.
You know, we didn't get to see it because the league didn't kick off after it, I think, was it? Or was...
Yeah, something like that. Look, I want to throw in a bit of balance because it does seem like we're a bit heavy on the criticism a little bit, I suppose. So I want to kind of balance it up, and we touched on some positives, and Broderick's scores were delightful. They were absolutely delightful. And he's setting up his turn of pace when setting off to set up Tinryland's second score. He looked to me like a fella who was carrying maybe almost 2 decades of hurt on behalf of Tinryland, the way he took off. And he had an extra few, I suppose, kmh in the legs. Nobody could get near him. You're talking about a lad is 35 or 36, and nobody can get near him the way he takes off and sets up the goal. There was a bit of purpose about that. I thought that was really good. Areas to improve on. So rather than sounding harsh, critical wise, but things that I think they could improve on and things I was surprised about them in the first half in particular. And maybe they were surprised at the way Rangers set up. Rangers, when they didn't have the ball, did get the bodies back too. But for me, the way Tinryland play this year, that's something that should be familiar to them. They're obviously practicing on that in training. If that's the way they're going to set up in a match, then forwards have to learn how to get around it on a nightly basis in the field when they're training. And to me, they looked a little bit, Jesus, clueless is a harsh way of putting it, but out of ideas, I suppose, at times, and how to get past that. And the other thing is, when you have a C across a 45, occasionally there is men on the 6-yard box, which Tinryland had. One of those was Shane Redmond. And there was no ball kind of popped in there. Even if it was a 3-on-2, and that time it's no harm. Because if you're a Shane Redmond or an Eddie Byrne, you can generally win ball like that as well, that it won't even break down sometimes. So I just thought maybe those were areas that they probably can improve on if just say Pal go and pack out things again. Like the whole thing they say is look in and out to see what's happening inside beyond the blanket. And if you're going over and back, do it at pace. And they did it quite slowly in the first half. That's probably where a lot of the frustration was and they couldn't penetrate. Second thing is, and this is in no way an indictment on poor Owen Fenlon because I felt very sorry for him. But irrespective of who the player is, if a sub-keeper comes into a side and hasn't played, well, he came on as a blood sub last, I think, hasn't played a whole lot of football throughout the year, irrespective of who it is, irrespective of the club, I would think you should probably go after the kick-out, right? Because the amount of game time played is limited. And Rangers were given the kick-out, I suppose. Tinryland gave them the kick-out for large portions of the game. I think if you look back at the clip, Owen tries to pick out Willie Hickey out on the right-hand side. So I don't even think there was a full court press there. You know, so I thought maybe from that point of view, that wasn't something to cop, but they won the game. So these things don't really matter now, I suppose.
And the thing about Kevin, about Tinryland now going in, they've Keane Lawler back as well. He came on, got good game time. If Broderick coming in now, he's going to start the next day, has to start. Like, it did work out well today.
Really does, Stevie. Do you think he'll start?
I think he has. Yeah.
I think because look, he came in today at so grand coming in after half time, 3 points down, playing with a breeze. If they're 6 points down next week at half time, he's coming in 20 minutes. I can't see him not starting. You said to yourself the burst of pace he had. I was praying to God, and as a neutral at the match, that he wasn't going to pull a hamstring or something. He was going that hard because with his injury history, and that's the truth. Because I couldn't believe, and I was actually, I don't know who went to get a tackle back in him. They couldn't actually catch him to pull him down clearly. I couldn't believe it, and he's 30. First time I seen Paul Broderick was in a Division 4 final in 2004, kicking 45s at 18 years of age. And I was looking at this and waiting for something to happen here. Hamstring, something's going to go here. Ball ended up in the back of net. Paddy Regan pounded into the back of net and it's game over. And
I just think he gives them an option as well if they are going to play that patient ball and if they get their shooters on, you know what I mean, and like they did in the first half. I don't think they had anyone to take on shots even. I know that you might say about, Rangers had a blanket defence back, but they had no shooters there. They had no one who was confident enough to in the first half to take on a shot.
Ball over on the far side where Willie Hickey, that corner, that's when Willie took it over in that corner. There was a quarter of his possessions over there on the stand side.
So you'd imagine you give him something. He looked in good shape. I just think you give him a different dynamic anyway.
The thing to factor in here, Joe, and I'll bring Brian on this as well, right, is Tinryland it's highly unlikely, worst case scenario, that Tinryland will go in, will say anywhere further than 6 points down next weekend, right? Highly unlikely that would happen, just the way they set up, okay? So
if you look at, sorry, 1 second, Kevin. If you look at today, like Rangers had some very bad wides, right? There were 3 points up to no score. They had 5 wides. I mean, you put 3 more of them on the board, which is quite possible.
Yeah.
That's 6
points. Take away the first goal, not happening. You know
what I mean?
So, the way it happened.
But why did they get the wides? They're forced to shoot outside the range. That's why they
no. Sometimes not only forced to shoot, sometimes it's poor shot selection, as we saw as well. You know what I mean? So that's why I'd be thinking
from range outside the 45.
No, but sometimes you can work a ball across to a lad. If a lad is shooting on the wrong side for wrong foot, you know what I mean? It's not rocket science. Sometimes if there's a pass on inside.
I know. But Rangers didn't do that inside the 45 today. How many of those ways would you say were ones, lads, that you should have put that over? Plain and simple.
No. I'm not saying the shot. I mean, listen to me. I was saying to you, it was the wrong time to
Sorry,
shoot.
teacher.
Yeah, but sure, if you listen to me, point. I know, but what I'm saying to you is
Don't
that
cross mine.
it was a poor. Yeah, because I was pointing out the fact that Tinryland could have gone in easily 6 points down at the break today.
Yeah.
Very
Okay,
easily.
Right.
Probably had, with a little bit more time. There was some of them what we call bad ways. They weren't massively pressured. If you look back in the video, there was some very loose shooting in terms of like had Rangers took it on one more pass. It wasn't that there was huge pressure. So they could possibly have been 5 or 6 points down. And I think that's the point. And I'd agree with Stevie there that I think if Pal are in that position next week, and you have Shane O'Neill in the pocket there, you have even David Reid in the pocket, and if Tinryland sit back, they will shoot and they will be more accurate. So I think when Tinryland have their chance offensively, they'll need to have their shooters on the pitch in order to counter that, and I think they'll need to have them on early.
A couple of years ago, Kevin, the relegation playoff up in Tullamore with the hurlers against Offaly, we went again the gale force wind down to 14 men, 10 points down at half time. You're going to need goals. We've got 2 goals to start second half. Tinryland was similar today. They would have possibly needed a goal. Once they got the goal today, points would have done after that, possibly. They weren't going chasing a goal once they got the one straight after half time. As Joe says, these lads are shooting last night, like they will score, like David Reid, Shane O'Neill, these boys will score from that range better than Munster Rangers did today because they're more familiar with it. They're playing more football week in, week out.
Yeah.
If they're given the chances.
This point now, they're all good points right away. But it's actually gone away from the one I wanted to make. What I was going to say was, if there was 6 points in at half time and Broderick was already on the pitch, who do you spring?
Yeah, that's
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Like John Murphy start the next day. Does Keane Lawler start? If they start, are the lads that have started that are being knocked to the bench the next day, what impact are they going to make coming off the bench?
That's the thing. So that's probably the biggest factor
that's
that
what
maybe
Raffaele actually done the last couple of
this
weeks,
week, isn't it?
Raffaele done the last couple of weeks. It worked last week. Yesterday mightn't have. It's Amber Tin Line. There's 1 or 2 points going to win this. In all probabilities, and it's going
a few things there, right? First thing is, I always wondered why this is done online and not done in person, and now I know why, because the 2 of you would end up boxing. The second thing is, and I'm an absolute fraud, and maybe don't deserve to be on the podcast because I didn't even go into the game today, I just cut the grass instead. But in fairness to Tinryland, they've had teams play football against them this year. They've had teams play defensive against them this year. And every single challenge that's been put in front of them, they've played to whatever their strengths are on the day. And what would have been suicide today for Tinryland would have been to go out and say, Rangers maybe aren't the biggest football inside. We're footballers. Let's go man to man and take them on, because I guarantee you, Rangers would have scored 3 or 4 goals, and next thing you'd be out of a championship. Stevie's point is right, though. 2 of Shane O'Neill's points last night, maybe one more so than the other. If you're a defender, you probably go ahead, try it from there, because you're on the left stand side, left footer, too much work to do, and it's like the horse starts over the bar, so
that was my point, by the way.
Just to finish it, right? Just to finish, Pal, Rangers beat Pal, and you would say Pal, with the pace Pal have, etc.
Pal Rangers, you mean?
Or Pal Rangers? Sorry. And the point being that Pal will play. I think anyway, Pal will play football next week, and they don't seem to have any consideration of dropping too many men back. And with the pace they have up front, why would they? But Tinryland seem to be they've won every game they've played, and the box clever. And sometimes if that's what chefs do to win, you can't take anything away from them.
You look at this. They only conceded. Look, positives Tinryland. They conceded no goal. They conceded 6 points. Right, they didn't play well. They're in a final, and I'd agree 100% with you. You give and we'll be talking to Niall Lowry and lads like that. You give them the start of the year and say, look, you're going to win. You're going to get to the county final. You're going to be, will you take it? Absolutely. You know what I mean? And did like next week takes on a whole life of its own. I do, like I said, that would be my only worry. I think Pal are able to screen as well. They are, like we said, we saw Rathvilly last night. I know it was a slightly maybe a more open game, but they are able to defend as well. And I just would be, on what I saw today, I would say, like, you've Kieran Moore in there as well for Pal, a long range shooter. I know he a couple of wades last night. I just would be worried if Tinryland, Pal will shoot from distance and they have the shooters to punish them, which is fine. There's no problem there. Like, that's fine. I just think Tinryland will need to have their shooters on, for as much as the match as possible. They are going to get a lot of possession like they did today, but they need to have a couple of shooters on there to finish those chances, early doors. Do you know what I mean? I think
no Tinryland forward today kicked the ball over the bar.
What?
No starting forward kicked the ball over the bar.
That's a fair statistic, yeah.
Paddy Regan got a goal, Pam's goal, Paul Broderick got 1-4. Sorry, 1-3. Dermot Walsh got a point. He's wearing 9. We've been playing the forwards. Danny Moore got the other point.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest argument this week, lads. If you're in Tinryland, do you start Broderick or do you not start Broderick? It's a big talking point when it's all said and done.
Saying that, I wouldn't say
carrying an
many
injury
got
as well.
shots off. Conor Brennan. I don't know, Conor Walsh. Did Conor Walsh get one? Who struck the post in the first half? Was it Conor Walsh?
Yeah, so.
Brian, it's a pretty good comparison to make with regards to Gary Dempsey, because I know Willie Quinlan said it on the radio last night, and a few others said why didn't he start? Okay, and then I suppose if he starts and it doesn't work out and he's gone off, I don't know. It's a similar situation next again that Tinryland face. Joe and Steve, you're very much in the camp of start him. Would you start him?
Broderick.
Yeah. It's not an easy one. I don't think it's straightforward, to be honest.
Who do you take off?
Yeah.
Who gets the drop?
Well, look, I think look at another way. Look at another way, maybe. Look, they had their start. They brought in. We mentioned Cian Lawler. We mentioned Paul Broderick, and I'm trying to think, John Murphy. All three. The good thing from Tinryland's point of view, right? The lads who were starting had run their race, as they say. But those three
start anyway. There's a moral certainly one of them is starting, if not two.
But my point is that it's a good sign for Tinryland as a panel that they brought, that they had three very effective players coming in off the bench to make a big impact in my eyes. They got on a lot of ball. That's a big positive for them as well. There's panel there. There's a panel there. There's strength and depth. And I know I get the argument as well. Like, do you hold off? Do you kind of time when you introduce your subs to give you the lift? Sometimes lads would say you finish with a stronger team, not stronger team than you start, but you finish as strong as you're starting, sort of thing. So you have something left, a bit of a kick. I suppose the only thing is, it's they're defined moments, aren't they? Like, next week, I mean, it's just when to bring in someone. When is the game gone beyond? Gone beyond the comeback, if you get me, and that's going to be the fine line to balance next week.
I don't think I'd start him.
I don't think I would either.
No, based on the fact that Tinryland and Pal, like, that'll be relatively evenly matched, I would think. And if it's like, what a sub to be able to bring on if the game is in the balance with 20 minutes to go, or even at half time. I suppose the problem is if you it's a great option to have regardless of the scenario that breaks out in front of you. Whereas if you start him and he's to come off, there's a psychological boost to Pat.
Yeah.
Same with Pal. Pal have Tomas Kenny, to have Cathal O'Neill coming in. The lads like that coming in made a big impact last night. Cathal O'Neill got a point. Trying to think of a couple of other Pal subs. I'd agree with you. It's getting that balance. What's that?
Andrew Keogh come on near the end of it.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's getting that balance, isn't it? Like,
they're serious operators you're bringing in as well. Like, do you know?
And they're so quick. It's frightening. Most teams have maybe one or two lads that are quick, and the pace Pal have is absolutely fucking frightening. Like,
yeah, that's the whole all of it, and that's why I think they probably won't start Mr. Roderick. And I'll finish on that because we're spending a lot of time talking about it, obviously. But I genuinely don't think there'll be a whole lot. Like, just say if Tyrone go in 6 points up, or if Pal go in 6 points up, Tyrone, I don't think are panicking at that point. I think they believe in the second half they can go and push on. But equally, Pal will look at it from that point of view and say, well, we have afterburners, we have pace here now, so we're going after them. And the one thing Pal have that maybe Rangers didn't have or did have and didn't do today is the ability to, like, if Tenoyle don't put the ball dead when they're on the attack, they are actually quite open because they do commit a lot of men forward. Shane Redmond said as much when he's on the podcast, and it was evident there today. And Pal will have the speed to punish that, right? So that's probably Tenoyland's biggest fear. Do they go and commit as many men forward then? It's
intriguing,
definitely intriguing.
Yeah. You'd be hoping, look, I know what next week is about winning too, you know what I mean? You'd be hoping. But I'd say there's going to be a bit of a higher tempo to it. I think Pal will want a higher tempo game. I think to suit their game plan. I think Tinryland are, as we've seen all year, very patient today. And will time their strike, as they say. I think Pal will want that higher tempo game, from the start to try kind of impose their style a little bit on it. Tinryland, though, defensively were very good. Like, let's be honest, like, right, we mightn't, it mightn't have been a cracker of a game, but defensively they are very, very strong. And it's going to be a kind of a contrast to two styles at times, I'd say, next week. But you'd be hoping that hoping the game of football, as you is, I hope it's a spectacle worthy of a county final, and I'd be hoping it is, like,
Do you know what's sticking my hole? Leaving Network Cullen Park last night and saying, Asher, look, lads, 2-6 would never win you a semi-final, and less than 24 hours later 2-5 wins you a fucking semi-final.
Well, you know what also sicking you, Brian? I know lad had a tenner on it at 6.5 to 1 for it to be a draw, and in the second half he got square value for money on it. That's none of us in particular.
That's the noise of it. I suppose we better move on to the intermediate and junior lads. But such was the amount of talking points with those two games, I suppose, that we're 43 minutes in, and we're only turning our attention to intermediate now, which also has plenty of talking points. So obviously we covered both intermediate semi-finals, and again, thanks to Joe and Stevie for jumping in on commentary both today and last night in particular as well, when I wasn't able to get there myself. And Navan and Kilbride, after the first 2 minutes, looked like it was going to take up a familiar, I suppose, path with being a dogged affair and a close one. Navan just stepped it up and were absolutely phenomenal, finishing with a tally of 5-16. 3 wide, Stevie, was it, in the end?
Yeah, 1 and 2. Ross Smithers could have been a goal or a point, and was neither. Martin Clowry's probably less said about the two of them, but he played well when he came in too. Like, and Martin, he was on the county minor team that got to Leinster final, I think, was he?
Yeah.
So,
You know, they have footballers, you know, lads think that just because they're a hurling mad club, that the footballers, you know, a bit like
21 scores and 24 attempts in a semi-final of a championship is serious going.
Yeah, and they had all the starting 6 forwards score from play, 2 backs score from play, 2 midfielders work like 2 dogs, Diego Dunn and Kieran Abbey, and right mix. Okay, Kilbride, you know, that just a little bit rub of the green at the start of the game, just didn't get that goal there when good save from Andy O'Brien from Horrick Nolan. But just another local derby next weekend. Said Burnside there'll be a fair atmosphere in that for the week, and a good cop, bad cop atmosphere in the next Monday, or probably Tuesday. So
there won't be a jolly grab made for.
in fairness to Michael, they played some fantastic football. Jeez, they mixed it up so well. Short ball, carrying it, their pace. I'm just thinking there, like Owen Hosey, Diego Dunn, Kieran Abbey, Scott Tracy, Ross Smithers, Cathal Tracy just carried so much ball at pace. Then, I mean, their kick passing was immense. Adam Kenny took his scores. John Michael Nolan was such a target. You know, they could go long. I was very impressed with them. Really, really impressed. In fairness, Kilbride, didn't get when the game was in the melting pot. Michael got a little bit of luck for won't say a little bit of luck, but half of a ball from one goal, and it kind of opened up the gap. And once the gap was there, Kilbride had to chase, and that's not the game they like playing. It's not the game, it's not the game that would have suited their team. But Nevo and Michael were just immense. I thought they played some savage football, and the scores they kicked were brilliant, long and short, and the goals they took were excellent too. It was probably them coming, their best game. Probably their second win in it, like they bet Grange by a point last week, and then to get this win as well comprehensively over Kilbride, puts them in good shape for the final.
Michael one of the few clubs, like they've won a minor and under 21, what a lot of clubs haven't got. And John Michael Nolan, I don't know who else is his age bracket. Like he almost single-handedly won a minor on his own. Like that's a fair achievement in Carlow. You're talking about the ups leagues against their all perennial winners in the minor, and they won an under 21. I think they beat Michael Davidson one a couple of years after that.
Yeah,
and to have that background, I said it might be John Michael that age group. I'm not sure the rest of the age profile in the team. So lads want to get over their head, like just the same one as range. Their footballers just don't concentrate on that much, and the more familiar their training is with the big ball, it's going to get better. But look, I'd say they Kilbride will be disappointed what way it ended up today, and they're still going. It'll be a different kettle of fish next week.
Yeah, if there was I suppose, Spirit of the Championship award or something like that, you'd be given to Kilbride. We did mention on air earlier just the fact that there's so many lads there that you would say there's younger people in Clary nursing home, and they're out there playing this year and doing serious. For sure, it's true. Like they were barely scraping the team together. Colin O'Toole taught me himself. He went in and got the job because nobody else will take it. And the way they approached the game this year, James Foley was on the podcast. Probably, Jesus, some of the one-liners he came out with, but what they did, and again, I want to give it a mention. I know we said it in the broadcast earlier. Well, Joe Waters, that man is amazing. The battles that he's faced on a personal level, and to be out there today and putting in the performance that he did, he kept going. Just Kilbride this year, had to say, hats off. Unbelievable stuff. Well done, Kilbride. What a ponytail Joe Waters has as well, actually. That's definitely haircut of the year too. So Kilbride are getting all the awards. Unfortunately, it won't be an intermediate championship, but talk about the spirit of the game and playing it. Do you know what I mean? Approach it the right way and enjoying it and all. Fair play. Second semi-final, Fenna, Killavin, Donegal, 1-9-11. Fenna prevail. It was probably always going to be a close-ish enough encounter, lads. You watched this too, or you two watched this, I should say. And what kind of won it in the end? A little bit of luck with the goal.
A little bit of luck. Probably, yeah. I mean, Kilgavin probably had 3 goal chances. Decent enough ones. Especially start of the game. A loose kick out presented Joe Roberts with a shot, and I think he only 2 shots on goal in the game, and he hit the post with both of them, one for a goal and one for a point and a free. And Fenna kind of gathered momentum from that. And Fenna's goal then once they slice of luck, I suppose we said on air, good forward play, ball came down off the post, and Dylan Bradley was in hand to snap it home. But like Michael Murphy's frees, I think he might hit 6 or 7 frees. I think Stevie, you probably have the details.
He hit
there.
6, 4. He got 1 from play. He had 4 frees, a 45, and a 45 that wasn't a 45, as in a free from the 45.
Yeah, he was excellent he was excellent. I think he hit 1 wide from the frees, and you do need a good free taker. It was scrappy. Like we thought at one stage, I think it was 1-4 to a point to Fenna. They opened up a nice lead, and you were probably saying there, look, this is not the game Killavin want to play. They don't want to chase the game. They want to keep it nice and tight. But they dug really, really hard. Hit a few great scores. Owen Roberts, I think, hit 4 points over the hour. He was excellent. Wearing number 11. Kept him in it. Again, we're talking about older players. John Kerwin, immense. I thought had a great game. I thought, for Killavin as well, just little things. Even near the end, they had a couple of chances maybe to equalise, and just, the wrong shot selection, or, got ponderous on the ball. But saying that, then look, Fenna had a goal chance or two that probably could have sealed the game as well. But very, very nervous, very tight game.
How your man that the very last chance, how your man didn't square it. I can't remember who was it. Porrick Hines or someone was running through.
Could have been Jack Tracy, maybe Sean Murphy was coming through with the ball that time. The very last play,
standing completely on his own, pop it across to him, and now, I mean, the game was practically over. So anyway, a wide was as good as a score near at that stage, but the sort of thing you couldn't. And for the I seen the last 10-15 minutes of it, and it was the most tense. Like every single decision Brian Deere blew was contested, and you could say that about any game, but particularly like every time a fellow went down to cut the ball, he was accused of touching it on the ground. Every time a lad put a hand in near a fella at all, there was lads looking for red cards. Like it was so tense, and like fair dues to Fenna. And it's amazing how many of the Fenna boys are hurling with Ballinkillen.
Oh God, I'll have to go through it.
Dion Wall, Porrick Hines,
Porrick,
Cho,
Jamie would have hurled.
Cormac Lomax, Jack Tracy, about 5 of them. But no, Cormac Lomax didn't play last night. Connor Tracy, about 5 or 6.
The games then next weekend, lads. Just actually, Brian, sorry, before I go to that, I was trying to go through Twitter there to see what was going on between Rathvilly and Aska. You don't have any update on that by any chance?
I'll get you on. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, send off a little WhatsApp there while you're live in there if you can manage it. I thought you should be talked out yourself actually. It's mad that you're here with us at all. But,
no, I haven't talked out.
The Junior A as well, Kev. Loughlin Bridge, your own club, and Clonmore. I suppose Clonmore will be the championship favourites starting off in the final. Yep, absolutely. Firstly, didn't get there Friday. It's funny actually. I was away for the night, obviously, first wedding anniversary, and I told Brian why I wouldn't be there, and Brian was like, "I'm sure she'll understand." So obviously we picked the battles, but we're sitting inside having a bite to eat anyway, and keep relying on the Twitter machine, and a few texts coming through, and 4 points up. Loughlin Bridge were 3 minutes into injury time, and you're thinking, "Oh, look, surely this is enough." And next thing, you see full time. I think it was 1-7 apiece. And I just let this unmerciful expletive, and people look around left, right, and centre, and you're just like, sorry, said that a bit loud, and I was waiting for her to say he gets like this sometimes. But anyway, what do you call it? I'd say dessert number 2 was gone, and that's her dessert as well as mine. Again, extra time was over, and such a, I suppose, you'd be so happy for Loughlin Bridge because the club has gone through a bit of hardship down through the years. We would have took some big beatings. We went a few years without winning the championship game at all. I think maybe in 2015 or 2016 was it the first time they won a championship game for 3 years or something like that. And then to win three championship games 2 years ago in 2020, and to get straight into a semi-final was serious progress. They've got to semi-final 3 years in a row. Very good young side, very positive. And obviously delighted, and I'm saying this with an element of bias, but when you've been through a period like that and you get back into a county final, irrespective of how it goes, it gives a big lift. Clonmore, 2-11 to 1-8 is how that finished after extra time. Clonmore beat Tinryland by 5 points, and again, not to sound condescending, but Tinryland didn't score against them in the group stages, and they gave them a right good go of it, like when it came to it in the end. Not that it'll be any consolation to them, but Clonmore, as expected, are into the final. Now, this is a real head versus heart thing, and we might give a prediction on the intermediate final as well. But I said Clonmore at the start of the year, but I was thinking a little bit more about this over the last couple of days, and I'm thinking back through finals that both teams have been in, and there's a few Loughlin lads actually have 8 championship medals, a good few of them, from underage finals and things like that. And Clonmore have contested a good few finals down through the years, in the last decade in particular. But on a good few occasions, they haven't actually got over the line. And I'm just wondering, does that make it a little bit closer than what some people think in terms of, people were saying, Clonmore win that handy. This is a big contest, lads. This is a county final. And there's going to be a certain deal of pressure that comes with that. And I think Loughlin Bridge have actually got a great chance now. Yes, I sound blinkered. I think they've honestly got a really good chance. But I'm going to bring you on it just to, I suppose, take the blinkers off a little bit. Stevie, you're very much in the know. You have relations playing for Loughlin Bridge. So
You might be slightly. I think you do, or maybe in-laws or something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
But,
No, I thought we get the game the other night. But mine hurling game was changed to Friday night, and I ended up. I was driving back through Loughlin, actually. I had to stop John Miley and ask him how the Loughlin gone. He says it's gone to extra time. I hadn't even a clue, and I forgot about it. We were in an extra time battle ourselves, and we got through it. But yeah, and I said it last week. I said it probably a couple of months ago when the two boys were in with the county. They have to come back and be leaders. They've been leaders. They're in the final now. In the final, you have to win the final when you're in it. And I think they only got 1-1 from play the other night. There's two reasons behind that. Like, you're being fouled for the frees as well. So like you can often see the final last year, Grange got enough off Loughlin in the semi final. Go over that, and they heeded the warning, and they put Tinryland to over it fairly early on, and that was a first team against the second team. And the fact it's a first team against the first team has to, I know Clonmore beat them well in the first round below in Loughlin Bridge in Ballinabally. Look, they'll be coming in there, as you say. They will have a bit of the momentum now, because the couple of knockout games they've won, and the pressure's all on Clonmore, as we all picked them at the start of the championship, I suppose, as the standout. And so far they've done what they've had to. Tinryland, of course, look, they put it up to them the other night. They can, and a couple of goals that Clonmore, one side were handed them, but there were goals that they took willingly, and you still, Clonmore will go in favourites, but I was just talking to actually Keane Brendan today, the finish he had for the second goal, and I was saying what was going on there, because it was a cracker of a finish, and he it looked like it took a deflection. I thought when I seen it first off of the backside of one of the ballon as was actually a brilliant finish, and that was the clincher. And in fairness, they showed great heart after being 4 points up, and by all accounts, by anyone who was at the match, just really left behind them. They gave away the 4-point lead without an extra time and go over the line. So I wouldn't say it's 50-50. I'd say Clonmore are still favourites, but it'll be interesting to see what way it goes. And best of luck to Loughlin Bridge from as last said, from across the Melling Road up here.
Just want to give a shout out to Banlarana as well. On Sunday, the 9th of October, they have the grid day up in their field there. 10,000 of a prize, I think, for the winner. Second and third is $5,000 or something like that. It's 50 quid for a grid. So you can check out their Facebook page or contact one of the players to get yourselves.
It's some idea for a fundraiser, in fairness.
Yeah, just seems to be great uptake on it as well.
And it's more or less the same idea as selling tickets for a draw, but dropping the ball out of a helicopter is fucking class.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they'll start the county final like that next weekend for a bit of excitement.
Yeah. Okay. Predictions on we'll get predictions for the whole lot, I suppose. Predictions on junior. So Stevie, is it Clonmore for you? Yeah. On junior 8.
I'm going to be 8 in Loughlin if I don't go for Loughlin Bridge. So I'm going to have to go for Loughlin Bridge on that regard, because it'll be said to me 40 times during the week. Seriously though, they're coming in under, as I said, a big confidence going to a county final. Look, they need a bit bigger spread of scores up front. That's the thing. They're going to need more than 1-1 from play, unless it's going to be a 1-9-1.
Yeah.
And I know Clonmore were missing. I think Shane McGrath was missing the last day, whether he's back for the final or not. I picked Clonmore to start the season. I'm not going to go away from them, but I wish, as I said, I wish our neighbours the best of luck, and we'll be lucky to get over the line.
Yep, I'm going Loughlin Bridge, obviously. Joe?
I'd probably go with Clonmore.
Yeah. Brian?
Clonmore.
Okay.
And Aska beat Rathvilly by 5 points.
Aska beat Rathvilly by 5. Thanks a million for that. So Aska and St. Mullins in the Junior B Football Championship final. Just to remind people, 4 o'clock on Saturday is the Junior A final in Netwatch Park between Loughlin Bridge and Clonmore. 6 o'clock then is intermediate football final between Fenna and Navan. Then on Sunday, the Junior B final is on before the senior final. That's St. Mullins versus Aska. And obviously the senior final is Pal and Tinryland. That's an interesting one, the Junior B final on before the senior one. But anyway, I'll keep on the prediction front. I'll go back to Junior B actually there. So I have heard a lot about. I don't even know what his name is, right? But there's a lad at Asker after getting. I think he works in the Dolman. I think he might be in college in what do you call it, in Carlow IT, and he's supposed to be lethal, clocking up a heap of scores. I don't know what his name is. If anyone is listening or looking, maybe you'll inform me of what the name is.
I seen Asker play O'Loughlin in practice now a couple of months ago, and I was very impressed with him. O'Loughlin's junior team regard that, but I thought they were decent. Now, I don't know who your man is now. I don't know whether he was playing that night. I didn't notice any lad in particular, but I thought they were very, very organised and good going forward. I thought they were decent.
They put up a good score against us in the league as well. I actually happened to be playing the same evening in the Prez. They put up a good score against us. Young John Dwyer, you have a couple of Doorleys there, very good in the forward line. Conor Byrne was playing, you know.
Yeah, they were missing. The Doorleys were missing against O'Loughlin, I think, even that night.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like even against us in the league, they were missing 7 or 8 that night, and they put up a good score. But sure, look, it'll be good for whoever wins. In fairness, like, because you have obviously you'd like to see, you know, football building again in St. Mullins, which is great, and then obviously Aska, their first team, and you know, really putting a savage effort into football in the town there. Their minors going well, underage. They're fielding 2 teams at some grades as well. They're really putting serious work into the club, and it would give them a huge lift to go up the next grade. You know what I mean, and build on it again. So look, whoever wins that one, it's going to be a big thing for the club.
All right, you're going with Aska, Joe?
I probably will go for Aska. I think maybe they're a little bit of extra football experience might get them across the line.
Yeah, Stevie?
I'll go with Aska. I went for Affiliate at the start of this campaign only because I had seen him the week before in the Division 4 final, and obviously they're going now, the team to beat him. I'll go with them.
Okay, Brian?
In the words of Micheál Mura Hurtig, Aska v St. Mullins, neither a football and stronghold. I'm going to go St. Mullins. Much more used to competing in finals, say, boys that play hurling and stuff. Yeah, go St. Mullins.
Yeah, I'm going St. Mullins as well. Intermediate final. I said Fenn at the start of the year. I'm getting a little bit itchy now after seeing Nave 1 today. I'm going to go on Nave 1. Brian.
Can you come back to me?
I will. Okay, right.
Very 6.
Can you come back to me? Yeah, I went with Fenn at the start of the year. I'm going to stick with Fenn because I went with them both. Here comes ifs and ands, pots and pans, boats. Depends which, like Fenn in the first 20 minutes last night need to show up for at least 40 minutes tomorrow night, like that. I think. Look, very good first 20 minutes. Fairly ordinary after that. Look, you can go with the caveat that the Killavin and these boys had an extra game last week as well. John Michael Nolan full forward. That's going to be, I think, if he's utilised by Nevon and I get runners off the shoulder, like the 2 boys midfield were coming in there, but they're going to put against the physicality of the likes of Choo and Parry Kinds. If they're to go forward for Fenna, but then again they're going to be meeting at the start of the game. Philip Smithers and John Michael were starting midfield, and then we stay there for a while. Stick with Fenna, but they'll have to play better than they did yesterday evening to pull it off.
Joe?
I'm obviously a little bit biased here. I'm going to go with Fenna, but by God, they're going to have to play a lot better. I think Cormac Lummox, if he's available and fit, will make a big difference to Fenna's style of play. He really is a link man for them, but they'll need to up their game really. The tempo of the game as well. It's hard. Like, it's hard to know. I would have said, geez, looking at it after or before today's match, you know, was there a high tempo and kind of an open game that Fenna give any team at any grade a good game? But looking at how Michael opened up there today when they're at full flight, it made me think twice. I just think maybe Fenna might just get over the line. I just think it's going to be a cracking game. I think Fenna, in one way, look, maybe the semi-final last night was good for them. They struggled, you know. Killavin, Clonegall were very good and played to a good style, and maybe Fenna might need that maybe was today maybe a little bit of a walk in the park, or maybe a little bit easy on Michael, and does it set them up maybe not such a good stead for the final? I don't know, but they were very impressive today. I'm just going to stick with Fenna, but it's not as clear cut as I thought it'd be maybe at the start of the year.
Right, Brian, I'm back to you.
I'll probably go with Naomh Eoin. I haven't seen them play or anything, so it's unfair. I remember a ref under 21 match between Fenna and Naomh Eoin in Ballin. Under 21's semi-final, I think it was, and jeez, I called absolute murder. But Mike should have won it that day.
What did you do?
Oh, actually, I actually had a great game. I was only 19. Refereed this under 21, and
younger the players were playing.
Yeah, like Frank Murphy. I remember thinking he was the biggest man I'd ever seen in my life, and like running past him. But what was I going to say? I didn't do much wrong. There was a contested line ball, and John Smithers put up the flag about 5 seconds after the crowd shouted for it, and I didn't know what was. I couldn't see it, and I just waved play on, and the Fenna crowd went ballistic at me. I remember Dewey actually. I think he called me a fucking bollocks or something.
In fairness, Dewey was at in the lane last night as well. He was throwing in tackles in the sideline last night as well. So,
and then one of my closest friends in school, Kieran Smithers from Tullow, he played hurling with Naomh Eoin. He was playing corner forward, and he went down looking for a penalty near the end of the game, and I didn't give that, and Maisha went cracked at that. So I kind of pissed off the two teams equally. And I remember walking off afterwards, and Marty Barry, who was in charge of referees at the time, said, "Jay, you did a great job on that. You'll start getting senior games now." And I'd say if either team had heard that at the time, they would have said, "Fucking eat it." And actually, another funny story. So I sent out 3 texts trying to find out the score in the Rathvilly Ascot game, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first text I got back was Rathvilly lost by 5. The second text I got back was Rathvilly lost by 6. And the third text I got was the final score was 1-9 to 6. So 3 different scores from 3 different people. The only absolute fact is Rathvilly didn't win. But no one knows what the score was.
Yeah, well, that's good through anyway. So, just on the topic of referees, this is disappointing, but I was trawling through Twitter there just because the messages don't go in through the interface, and I stumbled across an article. Unfortunately, abuse of match officials appears to have reared its ugly head again today. Wexford GA released a statement saying they're aware of an incident involving match officials during a junior football match today. Wexford GA said they're disappointed that such an incident arose and strongly condemns any threatening or abusive behaviour towards match officials of any kind. I'd like to wish the officials involved in the incident a speedy recovery, and their CCC are commencing a full investigation into the incident, and Wexford GA will support An Garda Síochána in their inquiries also. Jesus, we're seeing a little bit too much of it, lads. Like it's hard enough to get referees, and as much as they piss us off, you don't like to see that. Plain and simple. Whatever's gone on, I don't know the full facts of it, but a few times now over the last few months we've seen incidents, and it's not nice. Anyway, I'm just going to move on to the senior then, and we get a prediction on that. I want to do a quick roundup on all things Camogie as well. So, who wins the Senior Football Championship final and why? I'll start with you, Brian O'Donoghue. I'm not coming back to this time. Yeah, about 30 seconds. Yeah.
Who wins it? All right. I'm going to go with Ireland, based on the fact that they've been able to weather each storm, and they've played 4 different games of football now, between playing a team that's playing defensive as well, playing a team that's coming at them with football, playing a team that's totally unorthodox. They seem to be well capable of doing the homework. They have match winners like Broderick. If the only caveat to that is with the pace Pal have up front, they have the pace and the intelligence to get around a defensive setup. So it just depends. But I give Tinryland the nod.
Right. Joe?
Oh, Jesus. I'm going to sit in the fence. I'm going to go, it's going to be a draw next weekend. I actually don't know. As in, I suppose, I just think that maybe the little spread of extra scores might just shade it for Pal. But then saying that, look, Tinryland have the magic. that Paul Broderick produced today. And I think someone said it there. There's a lot of weight in his shoulders out there. And again, not making it about one player, but there's a lot of weight in his shoulders out there, maybe for years in terms of Tinryland and winning with Tinryland and so on. And he really come up with the goods today. And I think he could be due a big county final, and it would be fitting for him too. In fairness, he gave great service to club and county. So, I'm really divided. I know I'm friends with two lads there. We'll be in a WhatsApp group together, one on each side of the fence. Niall Lowry, the boys what made me saying Niall Lowry and Shane O'Neill, two lads who are so committed to their clubs and to football, you wouldn't believe it. I can't really split them, and I know maybe today I was kind of pulling my hair out at half time, maybe wondering how can Tinryland win a game, after that half of football, but they showed it in the second half, and they probably showed what they're capable of. I would just hope, I just hope that both teams maybe show what they're capable of next weekend. If I was to call it, and I have to call it, I think it'll be really, really, really tight. I think Pal might just have that extra forward or two to get them over the line, but I think it'll be a titanic battle, and I think there'll be nothing in it. I don't think there'll be any more than a point or two in it.
Steve-O?
Back to my earlier prediction in our WhatsApp group, I went for Tinryland, and I totally torn. I just, if Pal have eight scores next week, they're going to win the game. That's a fact, and I don't think they will. I don't think they're going to have 8 different scores against the Tinryland setup. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I could nearly sit in the fence with Joe and say it's going to be a draw, but I'm going to go with Palantine, I think. What I said earlier at the very start of the show, Conor Crowley, I think, could be the difference here if depending if they can pick holes in that Tinryland defence, which is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. But and I said with Tinryland more or less range, a goal in this game is going to be huge, because if Pal get one, do Tinryland have to come out then and play. If Tinryland get one, see what happened today. Like, they just kicked on there when they got it. I'm just going to go for Palantine on the Conor Crowley. I just think that he can open up the defence if he just gets one chance. He might be the turn of the game. But I will say, and I don't know whether this is an option for Tinryland, is Keith Jackson. I don't know. He's been playing very well in the junior. Would the likes of him come off the bench there if things are not going well? 5 or 10 minutes to go. He'd be a fair, serious option there on the edge of the square. I think if he has to be behind there or further out the field even. But I'm going to go Palantine just for by a point. But if it's a Paul Broderick on his day starts or whoever comes on to win it, it won't be anyone begrudging him that. And there's Danny Moore, and then there's more as like that. And your Pal have been in the county finals before. They know what it's all about. Look, the Tinryland boys have them as well. But some like the Pal boys know what it's like to win one. Tinryland don't at the moment. But that could change. 5 o'clock next Sunday evening. I'm going Pal, but local derby, 1950 and 1920. It's 1-1. I think Pal won the last one in 1950. Tinryland won in 1920. And that's going to be a tough parish for next week. And there's one I'm going to bragging rights after that. I'm going to go Pal by a point, half a point.
Yeah. Half a point.
Glass. Glass.
Right. I'm going to Tinryland, and that's it. Okay. I'm going to move on to the Camogie. So we're going to have another Michael and Neighbourly Senior Camogie Championship final. Michael seeing off Ballinkillen yesterday, and Neighbourly seeing off Mount Leinster Rangers. Stevie, just when is that final? We're just
it's this fortnight in Dr. Cullen Park, or what's Cullen Park. Someone said it's 1 and 3, 1 o'clock. The juniors at 1 and the seniors at 3. No, that's not confirmed. The two junior semi-finals run today. No, I didn't get the results of them. They were Burren Rangers and Kildavin, Mount Leinster Rangers and Michael. I didn't hear who won them. So that's the plan. I think 3 o'clock on the 9th. It's the same day as the Ballynarana ball drop.
Yeah, I'm just going to check that there to see is there some results up on the Cardiff Monkey Twitter pages before we go off the air. I don't see any tweets there with regards to the junior semi-finals, so I'm not too sure on that one. Okay, that's where we have to leave it. Thanks to Joe and Brian. They've departed our screens. Stevie, thanks a million to you as well. We're looking forward to next weekend, obviously, with the senior, intermediate, junior A, junior B finals. And we do have enough for the match programme. It's not exactly confirmed. I was thinking Thursday night maybe, but possibly Friday as well. Details to be finalised on that in the next 24 hours or so. But just before we finish up, a shout out to Recovery Hub and Carlow, Milano's Takeaway, Bidens and Seamus Byrne Electrical. They'll be happy out in Tinryland this evening. Floodlights very much at the forefront of Seamus Byrne Electrical's partnership with us. Carpenter's Bar Lounge and Restaurant, Ray Whelan Limited, Precision Media Productions, The Baba's Barbershop, Fine Framers, J&J Services, and Scott's Bounce and Castle. Stevie, thanks a million. Pleasure as always. And thanks to the viewers and listeners as well who have joined us here this evening. And as you said, we'll announce the up for the match details in the next 24 hours. Chat to you later on during the week.